Rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
It's time for a recap.
It's a recap.
We're recapping some more episodes of Scene Change. Oh, yeah. Let's do this together in sync. Ready?
Can we do it at the same time?
Yeah. You got to go label facing camera. All right.
That was terrible.
Yeah. I don't even know who is this brand?
This is So Bear non-alcoholic beer. And this is their sour.
We just needed something to drink. So we're talking about some really good episodes.
Yeah. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Danny. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, how do you feel about when people, like it usually happens at work when you're like, you go into work and then you ask for something or you address something to somebody before saying hello.
Oh, and
yeah.
And like the first thing you do is you say, I need something.
Yeah. And they're like, good morning, Aaron.
You mean good morning?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually love that because.
You do? Okay.
Well, I do the same thing all the time. I'm like, I've got to say hello to everybody so that I can then be like, and would you mind moving so I can walk by? Thanks. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah. But no, it's important to greet everybody, say hello, and kind of orient yourself in a space.
Yeah. 100%. I get it. But sometimes I'm like,
demanding things.
Can we? You're right. My bad. Good morning. Hi. How are you? But I also need this thing real quick.
Well, and half the time it's like 6 p.m. and you're like, good morning. Okay, so I need.
Maybe I'm being insensitive. I should not do that. But
it's all right.
It's hard.
Yeah. It can be really hard to say good morning.
It's just every morning. No, it's just so many mornings.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, hi. It because it feels forced at that point.
Yeah. Well, and that's.
I hope you understand
that's that balance, right?
Yeah.
You gotta greet people, but do it in a way that's fresh. It's a lot of pressure.
Good morning.
We're not even talking about greeting our guests, our audience here. We're talking about just saying hello to people at work, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
sorry.
We should probably talk about the episodes that we're recapping.
Yep.
The first one being Diego Mariscal's episode. It's called Many Voices, One Crew.
Yep.
And it's really fun because he talks about his background getting started in film, and it's similar to mine.
Yeah.
With the camcorder and like just making videos, and his dad made videos, that kind of thing. So it's like, it's cool to just realize how similar so many of our experience getting into film can be in terms of like making your own videos at home and exploring it that way for the first time.
Yeah. Our generation, especially because we're from the 80s, where VCR, the VHS camcorders were
VHS
prevalent
era. Yeah.
I remember the same thing. My grandfather had one, and I don't know why. I just loved looking at the world through that little eyepiece.
Something about that dangly, lens cap, just dangling. It's mesmerizing, It's a little pendulum, just
so good. Well,
hypnotizing us.
Diego's dad was like putting, music.
I know,
into the thing live.
Yeah, it's like so elaborate. I mean, it's funny because I feel like the standard for this stuff has gone through the roof because of YouTube or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like now adding music is so easy. It's like an option right there on Instagram or whatever.
Right. Yep.
So it's we've come a long way from the happy birthday flashing on the screen to, being able to add any words you want now.
Right. Yeah.
Not just
seamlessly.
The date.
Yeah.
Not just the date flashing over and over and over. But anyway, we should talk about the fact that Diego, he got started. He tells his story about getting started, getting interested, seeing people working on set. That wasn't my experience exactly, seeing productions around LA or anything, but he talks about actually seeing people working and like crossing that line. I've heard other people tell that kind of story too, and I'm like, wow, that's so brave.
Yeah.
But just saying, like, look at that unique thing that person is doing. Like, I want to know more about it, and having that kind of curiosity and interest to say, like, maybe I can do that too. But I love that story he tells about the changing tent and like getting his first job.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how like you, as a kid, I don't know, maybe I didn't grow up in LA, so I didn't always see a production, but when you see it, you know what it is. You know, you're just like,
those yellow signs, you know,
there's the secret sauce behind the curtain that we're not allowed to look behind, but you recognize it immediately. Right. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I wonder what they're shooting. I wonder what movie that is or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, so in Diego's case, he saw something, walked right up to the camera assistant or the loader, whoever it was, and got a 1 hour job to watch over the gear while they all went to lunch. Which is impressive. Which is pretty sweet. Whoever that person was, right? Didn't have to do that. There was someone was watching that stuff.
Yeah. You know? But he also talks about kind of like the fact that you might be in one field. Like, he was started as a camera person. Yeah. Has all this experience in camera and realizes like there's another whole department that might be more interesting to me and might actually be more fulfilling. And so just being able to recognize that, like seeing the opportunities within this industry around us and kind of going, oh, you know, maybe I can change my trajectory on the fly and actually start to do that. And he tells that story in a really great way, because he ends up seeing somebody who, you know, he worked with in a past capacity in the new capacity. Yeah. And kind of have that reunion of it all. But
and happy. I don't know if he was probably happy as a camera person, but he found like the thing that he really enjoyed. Right. Yeah. And like went with it, which is great.
Yeah. Well, and to me, what's so cool is like the idea of having all of these trades and skills overlap, is that he's a better dolly grip because of that experience. Right. And so like in general, whatever your past experience, it informs your current job and what you're doing and what you bring to it. So, but I don't know. It's really cool to hear kind of the different paths and how people get there, but also how you can jump from one to another. You know, you're not stuck in one place. Yeah. If it feels like it's stagnant, you know, or not what you thought you were going to be involved in. There's so many other fulfilling creative trades and pursuits right next to you know, your workspace. Somebody else is doing something.
Yeah, well, he talks, right. He had that moment where he was working in camera department and then saw the grips over to the side. Yeah. What did he say?
Having fun,
having more fun,
right? Yeah, exactly.
It's like they're joking and telling stories, and he wanted to be a part of that. And when you talk to him as a person, you're like, oh yeah, that's totally you. Like you're right. Community
way
driven.
More social.
Yeah. No, I love his kind of his trajectory towards being a dolly grip. And speaking of what you said earlier, the dolly grip is, I think we said this in the episode, right? The dolly grip is a part of the operator. Like, they are making those choices and telling the story just like an operator would, but they're pushing the dolly. Yeah.
Well, they're operating the dolly, and we're operating the head. So essentially, you know, if you need to move left so you can pan right, which has to happen first.
Right. Yeah.
You need the dolly grip to move the camera before you can back pan.
And that relationship there needs to be some chemistry there.
Absolutely.
You need to be in sync with that person too. So
absolutely, you have to trust your dolly grip. So knowing that they have that experience and thinking about the lens and where to put the lens is very important.
Right.
So, well, I also am glad we got to talk to a dolly grip. I want to talk to more grip people in the grip department in general, talk more about lighting and all that. But being able to talk to somebody who's in camera support was really special. And I feel like if we could have more dolly grips, it would make me very happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a fun episode if you enjoy camera and working with a dolly grip and all of that, everything that goes into it. But because we talk about...
Well, we didn't really talk about we haven't mentioned his scene change, which is he's the admin, the founder of Crew Stories.
You're right.
Instagram page.
Yep.
But he doesn't.
He's seen changes from camera to grip,
right.
and then also in
right. But he doesn't like to put his name on it.
No,
which is great. I'm glad that we got him on this show and we're able to put his name on it.
Yeah, get his story
on it.
Yeah. No, I feel like it was really cool because it's easy to kind of abstract and not really know what's behind something or not know the people involved, but it's the people that matter.
Yeah.
And Diego's an awesome person.
Yeah.
Really good to get to know him.
Little people like you. Do you know what that's from?
No.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
but I don't feel little. I'm like sitting in the special spot right now today. I feel like I'm in your spot here, and
I didn't want to hog
this is my garage. Well, what else can we say about Diego's episode? It was cool to talk about kind of that transition, like you're saying, the going to. Working on set is one thing, but actually working with all these different voices and actually trying to kind of support people's voice, support all these different voices, and be sensitive to the potential to kind of like go over the like boil over with some of these emotions, you know? And when things get really, really intense and there's a lot of really a lot of people hurting and wanting to express the fact that they haven't been heard. Trying to represent those people can be really, really difficult. And being able to do it in a way that isn't doesn't make people feel like you're just another person limiting what they're trying to say.
Right.
And I think he does that. He does a really great job of that.
He does. That's such a tough spot to be in, because for those who don't know, Diego he's the admin on the Facebook group, so he has to approve a post, and he does it. He does all of them himself, I think. So when somebody posts something online and it triggers somebody and it triggers an emotional response,
he's already been thinking about how that would. It's like you got to kind of consider all those potential.
And if I'm triggered, I do it all the time. I want to respond immediately, and it's probably the wrong response. And I think he's reading these posts before they're posted, to the public, going, this might be something that this person doesn't want to see in the future, and bite them. I don't know. Yeah, that's a really tricky place to be in.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that Instagram page was so not fun to watch.
Engaging.
Very engaging. I just remember, early on it was horror stories of safety and like harassment, and finally was able to anonymously kind of share people's experiences, because that they've been holding in for so long, and like they wanted to be heard, right?
I'm gonna mark it. Somebody talking right outside there.
It's our neighbor.
Oh man, should we wait?
No,
we have control over this. We're the guest.
I know, but I thought we were just gonna go live.
It is. This is all in there right now.
Yeah.
There's some people talking outside.
We've had crickets, we've had dogs.
We've had a lot of stuff.
We've had people, we've had basketball games.
We've had 2 basketball games on either wall.
If anyone out there is willing to donate a studio space to this, we are open to it.
All right. Yeah, you're right. I'm ashamed I even marked it and tried to remove a spot.
What were you doing?
What was I doing?
Come on.
All right. So do you have a timer going at least?
Yeah, I do.
I can look at?
We're good.
Man, where are we at here? All right. So let's talk about the fact that Diego, in his episode Many Voices, One Crew, he talks about the challenge of kind of like being able to hear people's emotion, but not be like, not be
over censoring.
Yeah, not over censoring, but also not like over like stoking the flames of people getting too, I guess, angry.
Dumpster fire,
right? Like, you don't want to stoke anger.
Right.
I mean, it's not gonna solve anything. It's not gonna help anybody. So, I think he is putting himself in a really difficult intersection where you're trying to represent the voices of people who need to be represented and heard, and then also not trying to let a bot just overload you with anger.
Right.
It's like, so I think he's kind of stepping into the gap in a great way.
Yeah. He always has people in mind, and loves his community, loves his film community, and loves to provide a space for people to talk and hang out and network and whatever it is.
Like the parties.
The parties, which are
the
pretty
social
cool, man.
I haven't been to one, but I've heard they're great, and I've heard they're fun and good way to meet people.
Yeah.
Good way to socialize when you have some downtime when you're not working.
Yeah. It's a whole nother level too. We said it in the episode, but the production value of that party is crazy. There's so many companies out there that throw these networking shindigs,
right?
And you go and you're like, you see familiar faces and you eat some free food maybe and grab a beer and that's it. But like Diego's thing is like music and a theme and like the venue is everything's thought out and it's big. It's a very fun experience. If you haven't gone, you should go.
Well, that's Many Voices, One Crew. It's a good episode. Check that one out. It's available now. But we can talk about episode 8. Episode 8 is The Silver Butler with Kelly Simpson. And it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I love that title.
Oh, good.
I love the idea of The Silver Butler.
Yeah, me too.
Should we talk about that now or?
Sure.
No?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, like the full name is the Silver Service Butler, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But just the idea that you are doing something that isn't necessarily even regarded by a lot of people.
Right. I know it sounds gross to like explain it because
it does, because it's like
credit should be given when it
absolutely
right.
Yeah.
But the mentality of Kelly, I think. And a lot of people in the film industry is like, we are doing this thing and we do it not to be seen, not to be heard, because it's like we're doing it for the big picture of this movie.
Yeah. Oh, right? I was watching Formula One, I think, the other day, and just watching the pit crews do like 1 second changes or something. It's like, oh, what?
Right.
Those wheels are coming back off, guys.
Right.
But watching it happen so fast and realizing like if you can be that dialed, you don't even see how many people were involved in that change. It happens so quick.
Right. Yep.
It's like 20 people and it happens so fast that there was no, okay, this person's doing this and now this person's doing that. It's all happening at the same time.
Right.
And I think that's part of this Silver Butler thing.
It's a perfect example.
You have to be doing this at the time when the director is giving the note to the actor.
Yeah.
It's like something that everybody else might be like, oh, we're watching the director give a direction. Meanwhile, the second AC is sneakily making a change with the mark or making sure to get a mark or
solving a problem without ever announcing it. Right.
Exactly. So yeah.
A lot of positions are like that in this industry too, right? Like the whole point of what we do, operators, assist, focus pullers, is to do the job so that it doesn't get noticed. Because once it's noticed, that's when it's done poorly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You notice, a focus buzz or a frame kind of go weird, or you notice, I don't know, like, what are the things that err? Those.
Those mistakes, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's more prone in like a live production, a live setting, right?
But yeah, I mean, in general, like, you you see something that airs and you go, oh, that isn't a mistake because they aired it. So it starts to kind of change the way we even, like the in and out of focus thing or whatever. It's like the more you show that, the more you're basically saying this is normal and is acceptable.
Yeah.
But the reality is it never was like, it was like, no, you don't want to buzz. You want to make sure everything's in focus everywhere. And Kelly mentions that. It's like, look, we're putting marks on the ground and we're taping this out because every single moment of this scene needs to be sharp.
Right.
Not because, they come to the lens at this point and we want that. And then when they go over there, we'll be on that other angle. So don't worry about it. When they go over there, we'll be on that other angle. So don't worry about it. No. Every moment for this setup should be sharp because you don't know when the editor might use it. And everything needs to be pristine. It needs to be as perfect as possible so that it can be used.
Yeah.
So I feel like that attention to detail is traditional, but it's also harder and harder to like hold that standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so easy to kind of quickly, we got it. Okay, great. Yeah, let's move on. And you're like, well, now we know exactly what it is. We can nail it. We can get that perfectly. Like,
there's
so much like moving quickly now.
Yeah. I don't know what this, we could go down the rabbit hole of this, but.
No, but the marking is something that gets left, I think. That's probably why I'm rabbit holing. It's just the idea that like, if you're saying, this is the blocking, well, we can mark it so that we can continue to build that blocking. Like, we might change things to make it look like it's the same blocking from a different angle, but you can't change it unless you set it down. Unless you actually, put the marks on the ground and go, oh, they're kind of like closed off to this angle at that moment. I guess maybe we could open that mark up a little bit, but if it's not on the ground, if the tape isn't on the ground, you don't know.
Right.
If you see an actor hit the mark and they're kind of leaning off of it, you know that they're going to be in that body position.
Yeah.
They're not going to hit the mark the way that you place the mark, maybe.
Right.
But all those details matter because, you're leaving a trail of information when you put down a mark.
Yeah.
This is where they did it, even if they don't do it again that same way.
Right.
So all that's important, but I feel like it's easy to kind of like overlook it.
100%.
And then say, oh, we don't need marks. We don't need marks. And you're like,
well,
do you want to say what you're saying? Do you have any concept of how offensive it is to shout that across the set?
Yeah.
Well, we don't need marks. It's so offensive to everybody involved, quite frankly.
All right. Now Aaron's getting fired up. Now here we go.
Yeah.
No, we've lost a lot of processes.
Yeah.
And lost a lot of attention to detail and why it's important. It is a shame. Not all of it though.
Yeah, I mean, there's some happy accidents, right? Like let's live in the happy accident all day.
That's where those phrases come from, right? We're not going to do it because maybe we can we'll call it a happy accident.
Why didn't you wake up and come to work today, Aaron? Oh, it's a lot of happy accidents in this dream of mine. I feel like the more you can be disciplined, though, and the more you can learn the kind of the reasons why we do things, the more you can say, oh, we don't need a mark for that. All right, you're right, we don't.
Yeah.
Like I'm using the crack in the sidewalk for the mark because I know that they kind of stop in that general area.
Right,
Great.
right.
But we're still doing it. We're still marking. We're still leaving breadcrumbs in the way we understand how a scene will unfold.
Right, a full understanding. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, knowing why we do the thing and then knowing when we don't need to do the thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a crack in the sidewalk. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Blazing a trail.
Right. Speaking of marking and blocking.
Yes.
Kelly had, I don't know how she said it, but she basically was saying Well, when you work so much at this position, you're constantly surrounded by good directors, bad directors, good cinematographers, bad one. Like, you're constantly learning about how to do something well or how to avoid something. And I feel like as crew members, like, we spend a lot of time on set, and Kelly was mentioning about blocking and like how important it is to properly block to tell the story the best way. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's. I wish there would be more crew members that would direct.
Right.
You know, and use all that knowledge that they've learned over the years from just observing.
Yeah. Well, would you mind for our audience? This is the time to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, to kind of just spell out what it means when we say blocking. Like, we're not talking about stacking,
right?
Which is another term that we use all the time.
Yeah.
We're talking about the blocking of the scene. Maybe you could kind of define that.
So the blocking of the scene is like the placement of the actors, right? And maybe they're standing there for the entirety of the scene, or maybe they have moves. So maybe they go from this table to the desk over there, and then they go to the sink. So that is all blocking. But the importance of blocking is like, is all of that movement and all of the orientation, you know, important to the story? Does it make sense? Like right now, you and I are looking at each other. We're having this conversation. Our blocking is, I'm in this chair, you're in this chair. So, you know, we'd have a camera over here and we'd have a camera over there, and maybe we'd do another angle. And
maybe opposite the key, right?
Yeah, opposite the key.
Just because it looks nicer.
And we would have, yeah, you're right. Sorry, my bad. It would be over here. Oh my gosh.
Just kidding, dude.
we would be able to tell this story right here from those setups in this blocking. But if maybe I'm frustrated at, maybe my character is frustrated in the scene, and I could be showing that frustration at the sink, scrubbing dishes really hard. Well, it wouldn't make sense for me to sit at this table for that. Like, the blocking would be me at the sink. And so you start to think of like, how can we use the space to properly tell the story,
to show what's inside of the character.
Inside their mind, in collaboration with the script and all those things. And I think Kelly was saying this, like, she would see the blocking of a particular scene, and in her head she's going, "Oh my gosh, this would play so much better if you did it this way."
Right.
You know?
Like,
and that's kind
seeing
of
the opportunity to create a variable that might make something more.
And those are the
interesting
subtle details that I was thinking about when I say like crew members are watching and learning and knowing how to tell a story the best way. That maybe an inexperienced director is just kind of going, well, they're just saying these words, like they could say them right here.
Right.
You know, it's and like, that's kind of...
You want to know what's behind the words and ascribe like meaning to the actions that you're giving the actors. Yeah. Like one of my favorite things is to watch the actor and the director discuss a reason,
right? Yes,
for anything.
Yes,
because like you know, you'll have a director say, "Well, it'd be great if we could get you over here for this, you know, this moment or whatever," and they have a reason, and maybe it's just a camera reason. They want to see two actors closer for a certain moment. Yeah, you're at the sink, but when we have this beat, can you come back to the table and we can get you both close in the same shot or something like that? But you'll see an actor argue with a director like, yeah, but why? Right. Why am I coming back? You know, I just got out of there. I just left that place. Why would I come back here or whatever? And you have to create a justifiable reason for this real character, you know, this realistic character to do what they're doing and to have intention behind what they're doing.
Right.
And I think Kelly definitely notices that. Like, okay, you can throw marks on the ground all day long and see the different blocking everybody comes up with. That's fine. But what's cool is she is seeing the different intention that different directors have for the same blocking or for, you know, slightly different ones or whatever. So just kind of recognizing like, okay, this is somebody who's had the benefit of seeing all of these different ways of doing things, and has like a huge tool bag, Canada bag full of options, you know, in order to tell the story that we're telling right now.
Yeah.
So it's just cool because I appreciate all of that, all those details, and I feel like a lot of other people like Kelly do too. And it's hard to be able to express exactly or use those skills necessarily until you start to block a scene, until you actually can kind of take those intentions and make them your own. But it's fun. We all get to participate in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun building process.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone has their thing. In collaboration, we make this movie.
Yep. Well, that was a good definition of blocking.
Thanks.
I really liked it, actually, Danny.
Actually.
Yeah, actually.
Surprised you.
You surprised me.
I get nervous when I'm asked to explain something.
I feel bad when I make you do it.
About a film related thing, and I'm like, oh, I hope what I think is right is actually right. Everyone's listening.
Right. MOS. Let's see. Let me
Mitch out sound. That's not a thing.
Yeah. Who knows, man? I just did it to you again, didn't I?
No,
Danny, define it.
No, I walked right into that one.
Well, another thing, the scene change of the Silver Butler is, I suppose, the selling of the Canada bag, the selling of My Go Gear, the bags that are designed for ACs, that are designed for the crazy elements that we end up having to work in. And clearly there's a lot of weather up in Canada. So that's probably a big reason why those originated there. But My Go Gear is such a good brand. It's such a like durable, reliable brand. It was cool to be able to talk to Kelly a little bit about some of like why the bags are made the way they are, why the reputation is so important, why the design is so like critical. It's not just like, oh, that would be cool. Oh, this looks nice.
Yeah, it's very practical.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could go to Home Depot and buy a bag, right? But she saw.
Well, that's what she noticed, is that people were having to go to different different places to get the tools they needed, and it wasn't designed for what we're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, which is another just crazy, weird attention to detail. It's like there's so many toys and tools in the film industry itself, and now you're like, I'm gonna build a specific bag to hold and protect all those tools. You know. Like,
yeah.
No, it's cool. They are good bags.
They're great bags.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the small one, I really want one of the small ones actually. The other scene change that she talks about.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty interesting too.
Yeah,
because I feel like the freedom to kind of like be flexible, working as a camera assistant and working as an entrepreneur, opens up a lot of interesting doors, or can open a lot of interesting doors if you're willing to let it.
Yeah.
So she talks about a little bit about being a PI, or maybe not being one, but like working for one,
right? Yeah, that's crazy.
Pretty unique, yeah.
She would her I think her main responsibility was serving subpoenas to people at the door.
Yeah.
And there's like tricky ways of like how to get them, because we didn't go into it, but I think there's probably some sort of legal, like they have to take it, right? So there's a little bit of like
they have to take it before you
scheming.
Can tell them that they've been served or something.
Well, you have to, I guess you tell them that you're served, and then I don't know. She went into like there are stories of like people tricking people into taking it, or at least opening the door, I guess.
Right.
Or you can't just like walk into the house and be like, here it is. You have to be inviting in some way.
Yeah.
For them to take it.
Yeah.
For them to know that they've been subpoenaed.
Yeah.
What a weird.
Well, it's like we were talking about how the kind of caring about the weight of that moment, like having the sensitivity, I think, to say, this is, it seems innocuous, but it's actually really important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Right.
And why and when you do things, how, like it was so, her describing that process and describing marking were so similar. It was like interesting to kind of realize like how those skills transferred to a totally different, completely different industry, but in a way where you're like, oh yeah, that's actually exactly the skill set you need to do that well.
Right. So, well, you're dealing as a second AC, as marking underneath actors' feet. Like you're constantly dealing with different personalities. Like maybe one actor is super method and wants to be in their character and doesn't want that kind of distraction.
Right.
Or maybe they're totally fine with it. Like you don't know until you know, and you have to always constantly be adjusting to that, because that's the, say what you want about actors, but like that's the truth of it. Like they're gonna have their process, and everyone has to fit within everyone else's process.
And method, for those who don't know, it's like being in that role, like staying in that character.
Yeah.
And even when the camera isn't rolling.
Yeah.
You might have somebody on that extreme end of it where they don't acknowledge you because you're not in the right period clothing.
I'm thinking specifically of Daniel Day-Lewis. Not that I worked on Lincoln, but I've heard that Daniel Day-Lewis, because of the period, he didn't want colored tape on the set, because colored tape in that time period didn't exist. So the seconds had to get really creative with how they marked him. So he didn't want a yellow.
Well, they use chalk, right? I mean,
yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right.
It's probably not that complicated.
But no, I just say that because that's the extreme example I was thinking.
Yeah, no, it's true though, because I feel like if you're working with somebody like that who wants to be immersed in the scene, and now you're doing something that is literally breaking the fourth wall by necessity. Mm-hmm. You're saying, hey, I exist to make sure you're in the right spot,
right.
Or I exist to make sure that we know you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Either way, I think that is one extreme of it. And then the other extreme is you might have somebody who's super social and super friendly to the point where they're distracting.
Right.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
That's true.
But, you still got to do your job. And I think that spectrum is kind of intense, because as a Silver Butler or whatever, like when you're working with extreme different personalities, somebody who is trying to ignore you exist, and then someone else on the same call sheet might be like socializing and trying to, have lunch with you on the weekend.
Yeah.
It can be that extreme.
Right.
And you have to be able to balance that kind of strange extreme between the way that you socialize with somebody or not.
Well, and she probably learned that skill, learned how to communicate with a various amount of different people.
Yeah.
And use that when serving papers after knocking on the door, right? Because that's tricky, because that person opens the door and you have to go, is this person going to smile and have a conversation with me, or is this going to be a difficult one?
Yeah, reading somebody that quickly,
right? And she probably has a great skill for that. I don't know if she knows that she acquired it on set, but I think there's something. I think that's how she learned.
I feel like that's a big part of what this whole podcast is about. Is like look at the skills and how they're transferable in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But that's I really enjoyed her episode.
Yeah,
it's fun to talk about blocking. It's fun to talk about a little bit about the minutia that gets sometimes forgotten
or not even known about.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then also obviously my Go Gear quality, really, really high quality products for camera assistants.
Yeah.
We could have done the whole episode just on that.
Yeah.
So, so
Nick Cutway.
The
we done?
Third episode we're talking about is episode 9.
Yes.
Pulling housing into focus. Mm-hmm. Nick Cutway, our good friend and camera assistant who we've worked with a bunch of times. It was great having Nick here. I mean, we weren't sure we were going to be able to connect with him, but he was in town for a job, I believe, right?
Yeah.
But no, Nick's traveling around a lot more and working in
always somewhere else.
Working in the South and somewhere else. But it was fun talking about the again transferable skills, right? Mm-hmm. Because Nick really gets into a little bit into the slowdowns and the lack of work opportunities at times, and how we can fill our time with something constructive and fulfilling and beneficial, all of that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he found a really good way to do that with home building, obviously.
Well, we're going to talk about the frustrating things with Nick Cutway.
Oh man, that guy.
Everything he touches. He's good at.
He's just
one of those guys.
He's got a knack for anything and everything. Like, he can pick up something that's really complicated and make it make sense. Yeah. And show you new sides of things that you never would have considered. And
he'd look at this glass. He'd be like, "This is glass. I can blow glass. I can make this. Yeah, no problem." And he does it every time. He's a musician too. Do you know?
I know. Well, actually, I feel like
talk about that.
No, I feel like that was a key part, because remember Ryan's episode, Live Focus Deadwood. Ryan has a music background, and then we're talking about like live focus pulling, and I feel like there's something there, because like being trained classically in music it's something that stays with you, and it's going to end up, I think, kind of like seeping into every other thing you do in some way. Yeah. So when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, of course Nick is a musician, know. But it's also like really, really technical, hard work that's like inherently creative, right? Music. Yeah. You're doing something really, really specifically technical to make a new creative noise each note. So it's like this dichotomy of creativity and technical, I don't know, stuff. Help me out here, man.
I got lost.
Well, we're talking
what you were saying. We're talking technical. Music is technical.
Talking about music and how music impacted Nick Cutway and his technical ability and ability to pick up anything. Yeah. Really. I mean, home building is so many things. It's like a million different crafts that you have to learn, right? Yeah. You kind of can't even imagine until you start to pull apart an old home and you start to see what was there. Mm-hmm. That's when you start to know, okay, now I got to learn all these things.
Right.
Back to YouTube.
Well, actually, that's funny. It's interesting you say it that way, because Nick is that kind of person. He would take something apart to see how it works, right? So in the same way, he would take the wall off of a house to look you look behind it and go, oh, that's how this house is standing right now. And then from there, I guess he built homes. It's cool. And his van conversions. Yeah. He's just like taking how, I mean, this is like a different podcast, but you could talk about the housing crisis right now. And, but he's kind of just taken it into his own hands and like creating his own solution that works for him. Yeah. Would actually work for a lot of other people too, right? Yeah. It's just a shame that we can't. I don't know how to build a house, so. And I'm not like Nick, so I just don't have the confidence that I would learn it. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
Well, there are a lot of nightmare stories of people who kind of got in over their head and have a project that they can't finish. Yeah. And that is a real scary thing to kind of like start peeling back the layers and know that it could become a much bigger project than you started with. In fact, that's what it is with homes in general, right? Like you might think, oh, this is a this is going to be a 10-day job, and it becomes, 30 days.
My brother lived without the front of his house because he pulled a wall away because he knew there was termite damage, and then discovered that the termite damage kept going.
Oh gosh.
And then just like ripped the front of his house off.
Oh man.
And lived like that. I don't know for how long, but like that's how he started his general contracting business.
Yeah.
Right? Like
There you go.
Kind of like Nick, he just figured it out and knew that he had to do it and did it and learned along the way. But
you got to be a handy person to be able to kind of like find a problem like something like termites, I guess.
Yeah.
And say, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But that's who Nick is. I mean, he is that type. Like, the problem doesn't seem to slow him down in a sense. It's like, in fact, I feel like there aren't a lot of problems when Nick's around. It's like you can kind of just get it done. It's there's no problem you can't solve in a sense. He has that attitude, and he approaches things that way, I think.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world for him. He knows that.
Yeah.
I like what he said about like letting go of the fear of not working.
Yeah.
If it's slow, what do you do with that time? And he obviously makes good use of that time and fills it in another way. But I don't know. I feel like we say that a lot, and it's hard to live by those words. Let it, like, kind of just being in the moment and just kind of going, this is something that's out of my control. And if I'm not working, what should I be doing?
Kind of letting life slow down.
Right. Exactly.
Being okay with that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think he is trying to, or at least he says in the episode, he's trying to use the time that he has constructively, and one of those ways is by learning how to customize a home how he wanted it. Like, not just a matter of these are all the problems we got to solve or whatever, but also recognizing, like, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to kind of embrace and engage things that are complicated and beyond you at the moment and learn something, you can make things to your specifications.
Yeah.
You can customize your home the way you want it.
Right.
Instead of accepting the layouts and the options that are available. It's empowering to recognize, like, oh, well, I don't have to accept the boundaries that this property has baked into it. I can expand or change it or whatever.
You know what? I feel conflicted because I own my home, and I know that that's not common, but so I'm grateful that I have a home. But it's always been frustrating to me with the and this goes for, like, this is what Nick is kind of saying when he talks about customizing and like taking a home and making it your own. Like, if you can start from scratch, like, it's up to you,
right,
what you want it to be. When we looked at this house, and we would look at a bunch of different houses, what I noticed is that they would advertise new kitchen, right? And you walk through the kitchen, and you're like, these tiles, and I mean, I'm talking about my own kitchen right now. These tiles look cheap. These are ugly tiles. This countertop looks generic. I don't like it. I don't like any of this stuff. And I would talk to the realtor, be like, it says it's a new kitchen, but it looks like blah.
Right.
And they would go, oh yeah, well, no problem. Just tear it out and just like put in your own kitchen. And I'm like, whoa. So
they take the selling point of new kitchen and be like, oh, just replace that with a new kitchen.
That was a common response to my, I want a new, when I hear new kitchen, I think a nice kitchen, a thought out kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm like, obviously this is just the cheapest way to put in a new kitchen into a house and sell it. And apparently it's pretty common to spend as little money on a new, quote unquote, new kitchen, only for the new owners to tear it out and put in their own thing. And I'm like, I'm sorry. No.
Weird.
So wasteful.
Yeah, yeah.
And what a waste of time. I mean, just, I would personally rather take the money that it would cost for a new kitchen, knock that off the price of the home, and give me a demoed kitchen. Like, rip it all out so I can see this blank canvas and go, how would this work for me?
Right.
I guess people don't like that, obviously, but if I'm gonna tear it out anyways, let's just save all the time and money and just demo it once.
Yeah.
And build it once.
Well, I think it also requires the imagination a little bit. Like, some people, that's why, like, they'll put furniture in a home, you know, just to show it.
That too.
Which always,
you pay for
it makes sense, but it's also kind of funny because it's like, you know.
My living room isn't going to have just a couch and a coffee table. It's going to be cluttered with all kinds of other stuff too, right? Like,
well, it's
just a waste. And I get frustrated because to stage a home, you have to rent all that stuff out. That's just more money.
Yeah. But it's also funny to me because it's like, well, we don't have your furniture.
Yeah.
And we don't know what furniture you're going to buy for the space. Right. But here's some interim furniture for you to imagine what it won't look like.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, we're kind of digressing, but
but all that to say, like, I think Nick sees that. Like, we didn't talk about that, but Nick understands all of that, right? Distraction and fluff.
Yeah,
that can be eliminated and just be like, build it the way you want it.
Yeah, he can see the actual value in the property probably a little bit better than the average person. Well, the ability to kind of apply the film and TV skills to other things, I think, was really interesting with Nick's episode, because he is, again, somebody that we would want on our crew. Yeah. Like, in a heartbeat. Yeah. But when there's isn't a lot of work, when there's not any opportunities for somebody like him, he's gonna apply those skills elsewhere. And it's almost like I expressed it in the episode, but I'm like, it's kind of frustrating when somebody like him isn't working, because you're like, well, if you're not working, then why would I be working? Right. Yep. You know, and you go, okay, I guess I should follow Nick into a new industry or something. Yeah, exactly. But he definitely applies that, like, the same kind of diligence to handiwork and craft work, building and constructing and cutting. And I mean, it's actually embarrassing, because I used to fancy myself as a handyman a little bit, and watching Nick, you're just like, oh shoot, I've been doing that wrong, and I've been doing that wrong, and I've been doing that wrong. Yeah. Well, he applies the skills he knows, and he's always open to learning new skills. Like, he's just gonna keep learning more and more. No, his was a great episode. Check it out. Episode 9. Pulling focus into housing. Pulling housing into focus. Oh my god. Yeah. Pulling housing into focus. You almost nailed it. Yeah. Nailed it. Do they use nails in housing anymore? Let's ask Nick. Yeah, check out these 3 episodes. These are great. Diego Mariscal. Many voices, one crew. Nice. Kelly Simpson, the Silver Butler. And Nick Cutway, pulling housing into focus. That's right. They're coming out. All right. Well, as always, it's good to talk to you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on this 360 video. We're on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. Check it out. Scene Change Pod on Instagram. Go back and listen to these episodes. Yeah, go back, check out episodes 7, 8, and 9. And I hope you enjoy them. Yep. Awesome. Right. Thanks, guys. Bye. See ya. If you like what you heard, subscribe to Scene Change wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every Tuesday and check out our Instagram at Scene Change Pod.